welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabel Fulland. I love to read and I love to lift weights and I love to play music. I am a lifestyle creator and I like to talk about books a lot. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe to my channel and follow my Instagram. I really appreciate it. If you haven't noticed, I did my hair today. I burnt my finger and it hurts so bad and it's already like blistering, so I'm like soaking it in this water to like make sure it doesn't blister. But anyways, I didn't film a October Reads wrap up because I don't know, life just kind of got in the way this month. I wasn't feeling super creative. I didn't want to sit in front of the camera, but I was thinking that I should just wrap all of it up for the last 2 months. It is December 1st, Christmas time, as you can see, and I've been in the Christmas mood, reading a lot of Christmas books, fantasy books that are set in winter, and so on. So these are just some fall reads as well as some Christmas reads. I love this time of year when it's kind of a transition from fall to winter and it's going into the holidays. I love it so much. It's the perfect time to read. It's super cozy. I was noticing as I was adding all these books up that I didn't read a lot of physical books this past few months. I've been doing a lot of Kindle and audios, and then I did about 3 physical books, which I don't know, I've been really into physical books the past couple days, so I have been reading more physical. There's something about just turning the pages. Obviously it's my favorite form of reading books, but sometimes when you're on the go or working a lot like I have been this past few months, I have been listening to audiobooks. So let's just get started. I feel like going all the way back into October is weird because, like, what did I even read? I don't even remember. Oh, one of them I don't even have here today. One second. Sorry about that. And it's a very broad range of books. This year I had a resolution to read weirder genres out of my comfort zone. I usually stick to romance and fantasy, but I wanted to read comic books, read thrillers, read more YA, read horror. So that's kind of what I did. And yeah, the first book I read in October was Poison Ivy, The Virtuous Cycle. I know I don't read a lot of comics, but my husband is very into them. He loves superheroes, and I decided I really like Poison Ivy and the other DC supervillains. They're villains, right? Yeah. And I especially love Catwoman. I actually dressed up with her for 1 year for Halloween. This one is, I give it 4 stars because it was really cool development of Poison Ivy, and she's dying and becoming like a part of the earth and killing everyone around her to also become like spores, like mushroom spores, and it's really interesting. And also her and Harley Quinn are lovers in this book, which is apparently a plotline that happens a lot, which I didn't know. So it's kind of her way of finding her way back to Harley, and the whole thing is written as a letter. And the artwork is just beautiful in it. Like, it's just, I love comic books. I love to see things visually sometimes. It's not often that I read them, but I did read 2 this last 2 months, and yeah, I'm probably going to be continuing to read them and maybe even like this series as well. I think there's more in it. So next book I read was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This one I read on audiobook. This was a horror novel where this book club gets together and they're all just Southern housewives with kids. They all, like, you know, want kind of community with the other women in their neighborhood, so they form this book club and they read horror and crime novels such as Helter Skelter with the Charlie Manson cult case. It is set in the 90s. A vampire moves to their town, and at first he is subjected to being this matriarch guy that helps the other men in their community with like expanding businesses and getting money, but he's actually a con artist, and he actually starts eating the kids in their neighborhood, and he starts with the black children that are outside of their neighborhood. And I think it is really interesting how it touches on race, and misogyny is a part of it, and it is written by a man, I will say that. So the way that he wrote about housewives and women in general, I didn't always connect with, and it felt a little off. I feel like he maybe should have done a little more research within that spectrum, but it was really cool and interesting. It's also pretty gory, so just letting you know, but I still really enjoyed the read, and it was right before spooky time, so I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was for my book club. Shout out to you guys if you're watching this. I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, and I was surprised by this book. I really, really liked it. This book is about a literature professor who is obsessed with a love series, a romance series, that she ends up falling into this setting of the book series and meets all the characters. So it's like a magical realism novel, and she falls in love with a grumpy bookstore owner who also has a secret. It's just really interesting, and I felt like I fell in love with all the characters in this. I really deeply connected to it, and it made me want to read this series, even though it's like a fictional series. And I feel like that's every like romance book lover's dream, is to go into the setting of their favorite book and meet all the characters. I thought that was such a cool story. There was a couple plot holes in it, as well as I didn't feel like the romance was super strong in it. Like, it just, there was something lacking there with me. I don't know what it was. I did it physically, but my aunt did, and she found a lot of grammatical errors. So that is something to keep in mind if you are interested in it. I still don't think that should deter you though, because I did really, really like it. I gave it 4 stars as well. So lots of 4-star reads in the past few months, which is cool. The next one I read is The Dead Romantics, also by Ashley Poston. I read this at the same time as A Novel Love Story, which I do not recommend reading books by the same author at the same time because I kept getting confused. But this one was really cute as well. It's about this woman named Florence Day, who's a ghostwriter. She has an editor who she doesn't really get along with, also a medium, and she sees ghosts. And she lives in New York City, but her father passes away, so she ends up going back home to see her family and attend the funeral, which is at a funeral home that her family runs. And she sees the ghost of her editor at the funeral home, and there's kind of just a really interesting love story of how they come together and how she's trying to help him move on. Cool. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but I did really like it. It was a good fall cozy read. I enjoyed it, and I think you guys will too. I gave this 4 stars as well. I really like Ashley Poston. Her writing is a lot like Emily Henry. If you've read that, Beach Read is one of my favorite reads ever. It's just very similar. Her writing, I noticed, is very similar to Emily Henry's. There's a lot of like character development and wanting to heal from something. They're both characters are wanting to heal for something, and then they come together and they heal together, which I love that so much. The next book I read is on Kindle Unlimited. It's called My Color Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I really recommend this as a summer read. It was definitely more summer focused, but I just kind of wanted a quick like thriller romance novel. I feel like I don't really pick those up very often, but I was like, you know what, why not? Tessa Bailey, I do like her, but I don't think hers are very deep whatsoever. They're just kind of surface level romance. But if you're looking for a palate cleanser, I did recommend this one. About this girl named Taylor who is afraid of everything, and she meets this bounty hunter while she's on vacation after a man dies in her vacation home. So they're trying to figure out the murder together. It's a little spicy, it's fun, it was fast. Yeah, I recommend too. I give it 3 stars as well. Which for me, that's just like baseline. That's not like, oh my god, read this, but it's like, you know, it's cute, it's fun, whatever. The next novel I read is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. This has been on my TBR forever, and I wanted to read more literary fiction this year as well, and falls into that genre. It touches on race, about this woman who's an influencer who has a white child with a man, and they end up hiring a nanny. And the nanny takes the little girl to the grocery store one night and gets stopped by security guards claiming that she stole the child, like filmed, and it blows up, and it's just kind of a crazy story. It was definitely very dramatic. I think it did touch on like institutionalized racism as well as how media portrays Black people in the media, but I don't think it touched on everything. Some things felt very rushed. It was interesting, but it also wasn't very realistic in ways of how the relationships were between the characters. I did really like it. I read it on audio, and it does have a lot of like raging reviews. I feel like it's like a 5 like star overall rating on Goodreads, which is really cool. I ended up giving it 3 stars because, you know, it was good. I recommend it. I don't think everything I wanted, I guess, was within the story, but I liked it. I really liked the kid in the book, which I don't usually like kids in books, but I just thought like the kid's like personality was really funny and silly, and she always like broke the tension by making like weird comments, and I liked that. But the rest of the characters I didn't love so much. The next book I read is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This has also been on my TBR for a long time. It's a YA murder mystery about this girl named Pip who ends up doing her capstone project on a girl who was murdered in her small town 5 years ago, and she goes around interviewing people that were involved in the murder or other suspects or the family members, because the guy that was convicted for her murder killed himself, and she's trying to prove that that guy didn't do it. This is also a Netflix series, which got me even more interested in it. I watched that with my husband. He really liked the series. I really liked the series. I thought that it portrayed the book very well. The book is really good as well. I'm going to continue this series. There's 3 books, I believe, in it, and yes, I just read the first one and I was taking a little break from murder mysteries, but I did really like it. I gave it 4 stars. I love that the chapters were very short, and it's told in a third person perspective, but when Pip is talking about her capstone project, it is told from her perspective, which I thought was a really cool way that the author was able to bring both narrations into the sense of the book. So I really liked it as well. This is my first Christmas romance of the year. It's called Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogle. I love Sarah Hogle. I read Twice Shy and You Deserve Each Other by her, which are both amazing books. Definitely recommend. This book was fun as well, about this woman who is a influencer who ends up going bankrupt, and she makes a Christmas wish by listening to Mariah Carey backwards, and ends up summoning the Christmas spirit, whose name is Hall, and they end up going through Christmas together and being with her family, and he brings her a lot of cheer and trying to bring Christmas back into her, and she's kind of like an unlikable character, which I really like how Sarah Hogle does this, where she kind of transforms a character through a story to make you like them and to not like them at the start of the story. It was fun, it was silly, it was a fun little romance. I honestly kind of got more gay bestie vibes from the love interest, but it was still cute. I still liked it. Maybe it was just the way I was listening to it on audiobook as well, and maybe it was just the way that she narrated his voice. Yeah, it was cute, it was fun. I recommend it. It was just like a Hallmark romance, I feel like, but it was silly and cute. So I gave it 3 stars as well. The next book I have is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This is another comic book that my husband told me to read. It only took me like 20 minutes or so to read, and it's really just cute. It's this boy who is traveling, I think, back home, and he ends up meeting a fox, a mole, and a horse, and they all are just like talking through their journey and having like little conversations, and there's just mostly quotes. Like, it's not much of a plot, but it's just cute. Like, I just opened to a random page. It says, "Being kind to yourself is one of the greatest kindnesses," said the mole. So it's just cute, like little quotes like that, and I read it pretty fast, and I really liked the artwork in it too. It was very wintry as well, and yeah, I liked it. It was cute. I think it would be cute to like read to a little kid or something. This book I read is Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Kahn and David Leviathan. This book is another Christmas romance that is a YA romance. It is about 2 people, Lily and Dash. Lily loves Christmas and Dash hates Christmas. Lily ends up leaving this notebook of dares for a random stranger in a bookstore, and Dash ends up picking it up and doing the dares, and then they pass them through each other all over New York City. So it's really fun to see like different monuments around New York City, and then they end up falling in love with each other, and Dash starts to kind of get a meaning of Christmas, as well as Lily has some character development within her, which is pretty cool to see. I ended up picking this up because I watched this show on Netflix as well, I think like 2 years ago, and I really liked the show and I wanted to read the book. Unfortunately, I did like the show better. Maybe it's because I have such fond memories of watching it. I feel like I should have read the book first and then watched the show. But I feel like I didn't like how they wrote Lily's character in the book. It was very just kind of cringy, and she's just kind of annoying, and her actions were a little annoying to me, but to each their own. Like Dash's perspective, I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, it's just a cute book. It was a cute Christmas book. And the last book I read in November, I'm actually still reading this one, but I'm almost done, so I wanted to also include it. It is Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I've been saying I wanted to read this in my TBR for literally ever. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses like 2 years ago, fell in love with that series. It's one of my favorites, and I decided I wanted to start the Throne of Glass series. I want to explain this book, but I'm still kind of confused by it. It is also a YA fantasy. An assassin is summoned to a castle to compete in like trials to become like the king's main assassin, and her name is Selena. So I think that the story goes on with her and then other people within the story. I enjoyed this book. I don't think like I was like super enthralled with the story, but I'm still gonna give it a chance. I think it's like 8 books, right? It's 8? Yeah, it's 8. It's an 8-book series, so I knew getting into it that the first one wasn't going to be the best. I knew that. Apparently Sarah J Maas wrote it when she was like 18, 19, and it was her first time writing a novel. So, you know, the writing wasn't the best, I'll admit, but I did like where the story was going. It kind of felt like fantasy Hunger Games. I liked that, and I will be continuing the series as well. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you could still like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it, you guys. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video.